call sign.
Hey there everybody, and in this video I'm going to be talking about some Zed tips and tricks. So in my opinion, Zed is currently one of the strongest champions in the game. The plays in this video are by me as Tzankotz Zed and a friend of mine as Zviara16. Now onto the main topic of this video. Tip number 1. You're the main threat for the enemy ADC, and the enemy carry is a very big threat to you as well. The ADC is usually the squishiest target, so if you can one-shot the enemy carry and then escape, you have done 75% of your job in a teamfight. Please note that you might already know some of these tips, but I think it is important to share them all. If you're a new Zed player, then sit back and watch, as these tips do not require extremely good skill and team coordination, meaning you can learn them quickly enough, and use them in lower elo as well. Tip number 2. The laning phase is very important, and it affects your later gameplay. Use your Q to last hit minions from a safe distance. Your main combo for damaging your opponent is WEQ, and the reason you can't spam it that much is your W cooldown, but you can still use it quite often. If you land it entirely, it will also trigger Thunderlord's Decree on the target. When using it, do not swap places with the Shadow, unless you want to follow up with Ignite and a basic attack and probably another Q to finish off your target. Tip number 3. Maximize your damage output. I recommend you not to go all in if you can't survive afterwards. There are exceptions though. For example, if your enemies are like 2-3-4 and their carry is 22-4-8 and you can eliminate that carry, you should go do it. But only if you are sure that your team will deal with the rest of the enemies. Otherwise, use your combos to damage enemies, and this will either force them to use heals earlier in the fight or lower their health. And here there's something like a side note. You should use your ult, and it is not a bad thing to go all in at some point, but not while dying for it. Try to survive always. Tip number 4. Be unpredictable. This way you can easily deal with enemies even if they are outnumbering you. Basically, try to dodge stuff by walking, using your ult, as well as swapping shadows so that your enemies get confused. For example, in this case right here, my friend is being chased, so he uses his W, the video is in slow motion, like a quarter, and teleports immediately to the shadow, trying to dodge some stuff, and then he uses his ult on Rengar. Once positioned onto him, having the mark, he flashes away, uses E, then Q, returns to the shadow, and then starts escaping. The mark finishes off Rengar, and Malzahar doesn't have the power to eliminate Zed, and he escapes successfully from this 1v2 fight. Tip number 5. This one is quite straightforward. In 98% of the time, you shouldn't burst tanks. This one is quite obvious, but very important as well. And here is an example of the 2% or so case when you can burst a tank. As you can see, Zed has the power to burst the tank, but I don't recommend you to usually do that unless the tank is the only target and you are sure you can eliminate them. Tip number 6. When fighting another Zed or a Katarina, it is usually better to activate your ult after theirs, as against Katarina this will render a part of her ult useless and position you near her, and against Zed this will take time from his mark detonation timer, rendering his ult less strong than yours. Tip number 7. This one is about items. Using Youmuu's Ghostblade active while traveling to a far location can often be effective due to the cooldown, which is not as long, and it starts it gets put on cooldown the moment you activate it. As well as using your W and swap places with the shadow, that's also a really nice method to travel, just make sure there are no enemies nearby. And that same Youmuu's Ghostblade active is also very strong for pushing turrets and escaping, which will be in the next tip. Duskblade is also an item that synergizes with Zed's abilities. Tip number 8. When escaping and your enemy is nearing you, use W to swap places with the shadow immediately, then use E to get the slow on your foe. When done properly, you might even have an opportunity to kill a target if only one of the enemies has continued to follow you, as in this case right here. Tip number 9. Remember that you can use E twice while our shadow is active, and after reaching around 35% CDR, you will be able to use Q twice as well. Tip number 10. Remember that your W shadow has limited teleport range, unlike your ultimate ability shadow. Here is another example. I engage Lee Sin with a basic attack E and then W and Q, and another basic attack. He flashes away, Zed uses his W, and I continue chasing Lee Sin. I dodge Zed's shurikens with my ultimate ability on Lee Sin. I go in with an E and my ultimate and leave Lee Sin to the mark. Then there's Zed's ults on me, so I walk towards the side. He goes kind of sideways and misses his E onto me, I think. And then I successfully eliminate Lee Sin, and I dodge one of Zed's shurikens, walking away into the bush. Then I reappear, using my W-E combo and a basic attack to finish off their Zed, and this is a double kill for me. So those were the 10 Zed tips and tricks I have for you guys in this video. If you have any questions about those, ask in the comments and I will try to answer each and every of them. Remember, those are not some complete pro Zed tips that require tons of mechanics, and you should be able to get used to them upon reaching level 4 with Zed. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, that is all for this video.